Hey everyone, John here, and apologies about the lack of updates again, but yesterday I finally finished my practical placement, which was the last thing I needed to do for my hospitality course. So now I just need to submit the paperwork and wait for the certificate to come in, then I can start looking for work and everything like that. So, yay, go me. But I can't really celebrate because yesterday as well got I got stuck with a cold because the weekend has just been pouring rain and I was caught in it a lot of the time. So you'll hear me sounding a little clogged up, a little coffee, but I really did want to get this all. But I did want to film just a bit more of me talking about dolls because I feel like talking about dolls and filming myself and stuff, it's a skill that either I use it or I lose it. So I feel like it's a good thing if I keep consistently training myself to be able to talk about myself and my dolls and being able to film myself and getting more comfortable with who I am and how I present. So yeah, let's get started. This whole bunch of dolls is going to be a mix of dolls that I've gotten from online and also dolls that I've been thrifting from Savers. It's because the thing is that like my workplace, it is on the way to Savers, so it has given me a chance to be able to visit Savers a lot more often. But also, even though I haven't been actively looking for dolls on eBay, I really if I do see a doll that I know that I won't be able to see ever again, I do kind of bid on it, and hopefully I get it. So yeah. So the first doll that I got is actually an eBay purchase, and it came just like a day after I posted my last video. And the doll was listed as a kind of vintage Barbie clone, but the listing also said it had the marking Tomy on it, and at least back in the 70s and 80s, Tomy and Takara had kind of a thing happening with it, where the Yuko-chan dolls, Tomy for the Western market, reused the Yuko-chan sculpt a lot of times in different ways. And so when the person said that this doll is a Barbie clone, but was also had a Tomy marking on it, the picture itself was very blurry, but I could make out that it did use the Yuko-chan sculpt, which happens to be this one. You can see she does have a kind of weird in-between 70s to 80s look to her, where it isn't quite really westernized stylization, but it isn't very Japanese as well. It's kind of that really soft, pastel-y, just kind of soft, like early 80s look that a lot of dolls seem to have from that era. And yeah, while I am very happy with the 3 Yuko-chan dolls that I found through various means, I'm always on the lookout for dolls that that do use a sculpt, just because trying to find any information on Yuko-chan is very, very difficult. Just because either images are either really tiny, or they're written in Japanese and the coding for Japanese sites don't work well with Google Translate, or they just stopped existing, essentially. So trying to find any information on it was very hard. And the thing is that her body came on this mechanical looking thing. So the neck knob is more reminiscent of the Dream Dancer and Nina Ballerina and the ballet Yuko-chan bodies, because it has a kind of weird circle knob here and a thing up there. And when I got this doll, the thing was snapped right off at the neck because it was only joined by a really thin piece of plastic. So I did glue it back on, but I don't feel safe putting the head back onto this body. And I'm not really happy with it, just because it's very loose and kicky, but it doesn't really sit down as well as the Yuko-chan body did. And I'm not sure how this mechanism really works, because I can see while that the metal bar is specially shaped to like move in certain ways, I can't really get it to move. Like, I can't feel any kind of mechanism inside the actual stand to make it move. So, yeah. Ended up putting her on the Simba brand supermodel body that I got from Fasado Anonymous. It is like about the right height and scale to the original body anyway. So yeah, this was a very surprise eBay purchase for me, because while I do keep an eye out for vintage dolls, I don't actively look for as many vintage dolls personally, just because I've gotten as many of the vintage dolls that I feel like I do need. So so I just kind of browse now and hope that I find something relevant to what I want. And yeah. As well, she's wearing a Shiba Juku dress and shoes. The feet are slightly larger and they do stretch out in the back of the shoe. But since the shoes were made to compensate for the feet and the socks that the original came with, it fits pretty well in this doll. And the petite body of the Shiba Juku dolls do fit the petite bodies of these, so I think it really brings out the green inner eyes with the dress and everything. And yeah, at Savers, I went to this really far away Savers that I really go to, and there was almost nothing there. But I did find this one souvenir doll, which I don't think it's an actual rip-off of any existing sculpt. The body, it does kind of remind me of the Sad Eyes Susie or the Heidi Remco bodies, but it doesn't look exactly like that. And so yeah, at Savers I found this doll fully dressed for $2, like sitting on this kind of permanent stand, like with her feet tucked in like that. $2. I think it was really good because like her hair is like still really soft. It's not tangled. It's just that I'm very bad at styling curly hair. So yeah, her dress was very basic. It was just one huge rectangle with like a waistband and a strap and a weird kind of lace crown on her. So I did redress her. I did alter her eyes, and I do think she looks sufficiently more vintage and Japanese, like doll-like. So I'm happy for $2. So you know, yeah. Speaking of souvenir dolls, I had a Hawaiian doll that I've put on a Ever After High Ginger Bread House body, but never really did like her legs because the legs like came out down here. So I ended up cutting off the feet and putting in a screw, then gluing on a hard plastic foot from a stiff Barbie. And so now that her legs are smaller and her feet are small, it really brings the entire body into better proportions, I think, because the small hands and small feet do go well with the small head. And the dress is from Andrea, so I'm very happy that I have something vintage style to put her in as well. And yeah, I've been trying to buy dolls from my early doll collecting days, which is about 10 years ago now, because I am starting to appreciate the kind of facial screening and different diversity that I feel is lacking in current Barbie dolls, which even with the whole the doll evolves movement and everything, I do feel like the quality has gone down with modern dolls, and the face screenings have gone a lot more plain. So I've been unhappy with the modern dolls, and so I've just been kind of looking back on the era that I really enjoyed. So when I found this bag of dolls, it had a Flavors Tika doll and a Fashion Fever Teresa in it. When I was younger, I really didn't like the Flavors dolls. I only bought like one or two Flavors dolls because the feet were bigger, and so the shoes fit the flat foot gymnast bodies back then. But I never really liked the bodies, and I couldn't find any. And it never occurred to me to body swap the heads onto different bodies because, yeah, it just never occurred to me because I always assumed Barbie went on to Barbie bodies and etc. etc. So yeah, but with Tika, she really has really interesting ethnic features to her. Like she has a wider nose, her lips are bigger, her eyes are actually really quite darkly painted as well. And she has this really kind of just southeast, like Asian, like Polynesian kind of look to her. And it's really, really interesting because you don't really see that kind of facial sculpt with modern dolls, you know? Like in modern Playline dolls, because even with the Doll Evolves Fashionista line, a lot of the dolls still have really like cute round faces. They have like small button noses, and the eyes are still a light brown color. And it's really refreshing to like see this doll have really strong features, but you know, look really, really gorgeous. And her skin tone does match the Nikki body really well, so I swapped her onto that, and her big head does balance out a lot more onto this proportionate body. And yeah, Fashion Fever Teresa. I am trying to collect as many Fashion Fever dolls that aren't blonde as much as possible, just because I'm really starting to appreciate their diversity a lot more and the face sculpts that they have. And I do like the fact that now I do have posable bodies that go well with their better heads. So yeah, I think this Teresa was meant to have pigtails, but I just couldn't be bothered like unthatching like all of that in the back of her head and everything. And while I do like her face, I don't think a lot of hairstyles from 10 years ago do translate well to a modern doll. So yeah, I don't like the thick pigtails that a lot of the early 2000 dolls had. So yeah, she ended up on a Barbie style Raquel body, which matches her skin tone really well. And I'm so happy that now that I'm slowly collecting more of the Fashion Fever dolls, that there are now options for them. And yeah, with that, I bought this bag of dolls. I only intended to buy it for the Fashionista body that had a jointed body in it. But when I got it home, I discovered it had like 2 other dolls and stuff in it that I really wanted. One of them was the Barbie Basics Carnival sculpt doll. And I ended up rerouting her and giving her dark brown eyes, just because while I did like the Carnival sculpt, I really don't like a lot of the dolls that use it, because either the eyes look weird, or the hair color is wrong, or that they're too expensive, so I do end up passing on a lot of them. But I'm very glad that I found this Barbie Basics doll, because even though I really like her face paint, her hair never really gelled with me, and I already do have another one in better condition back here, but the one that I found recently, her hair was like singed because it looked like someone tried to straighten out her hair using a metal hair dryer, using a hair straightener, and it fizzled like a lot of her hair on this side. So I ended up rerouting her using this nylon black hair, and it looks way, way better on her. The other doll, I was actually going to disregard just because she has big blue eyes and a superstar sculpt. But I do remember a couple months ago, What If Chris was like looking really hard to identify who this doll was, so he could find like one for a good price. And Turns out that this is like the second edition American colonial Barbie, like 90s doll or something. But yeah, I was really surprised to find her at Savers because I remember like a lot of people on Tumblr were trying to identify who the doll was in that eBay auction, and here she was in the flesh for me. So I'm very glad that I picked her up. I definitely am not going to keep it because it's not what I really want in a doll, but I am definitely going to send it to What If Chris when I do have the chance, because I have a lot of Superstar heads that I need to send to Chris. So yeah, having another one to add to his collection would be good. And she's on a Model Muse body right now because the other one, her original body had like chewed up, stained legs that were leaking, and it was just awful. So she's currently on this body, which does kind of match her original bent arms. And yeah, one of my last Savers purchases was actually another Flavors doll, which was Flavors Peebo. And here she is. This is actually her original body, but I heavily modded it. I switched her rubber legs to these articulated Barbie jointed legs. They were the old style Barbie legs made for the ballerina dolls. And I've always held on to them thinking that they would go on a pretty decent looking doll, but since the advent of like made to move dolls and fashionistas and stuff, I always felt these legs felt a bit outdated, but since the torso and arms that this doll came with, I felt like these legs do go well with this doll. And yeah, I also snapped off her hands and gave her Jack-specific Winx hands, because the Jack-specific doll hands, even though I think they work well for 1/6 scale dolls, the wrist joints were always really, really tiny, so trying to put them onto a more modern fashionista or a made-to-move doll was always really difficult, because like the wrist of the hand just kind of got swallowed up by the arm. But since the old style kind of Flavors bodies have really thin wrists, it was quite easy to just drill a tiny hole and connect them. And yeah, I'm not as crash hot on Peebo as I am on Tika. Just cause like Peebo's head just looks a lot more swollen, and it looks really out of proportion to like a lot of 1/6 scale dolls. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna give her like blunt bangs here and then like kind of bring her hair forward just to make her face look a bit smaller. But otherwise, I am like, for a doll that cost about $2 from Savers, I did have a lot of fun restoring and customizing her, and yeah. So that basically sums up my Savers purchases. But also, on a random side note, the Hallmark collectibles this year, for the ornaments, they've made this BB-8 figurine, which ornament, which came with like a little hook in its head, so I unscrewed that, and even though it's underscaled for 1/6 scale dolls, I do feel like it works pretty well to be Barbie scale, which, you know, is a lot more underscaled, but still works for Barbie. And yeah, it's highly detailed, it's well sculpted, and I definitely recommend it if you have the chance to buy it. About a week or two ago, I met up with one of my high school / doll friends, and I asked her if I could have one of her many Roman Holidays Audrey Hepburn dolls, because she has a lot, and I always regretted not buying them when I had a chance, just because at the time I really didn't like the Roman Holiday Audrey Hepburn's default hair, and I felt like I could not reroute that. And another reason is that like I couldn't find any affordable or available bodies that matched the skin tone. But since Made to Move came out and that I've been tension rooting a lot more now, I really wanted one. So she was kind enough to give me one of hers, And here is my Audrey Hepburn that I've rerooted. Um, I, I originally intended to reroot this doll using nylon hair because I was gonna give her like blunt bangs and like a ponytail, so she'll look like the Beatnik so her hairstyle would look like the Beatnik character that she did in Funny Face. But when I finally finished rerooting her, her hair was so thick. It was so thick that like it looked ridiculous when I tried putting it up in a ponytail and stuff. So I've just kind of left her hair like long and default like this, which isn't like authentically Audrey Hepburn, but I think it looks much better than what her original hairstyle was. And she really works well on the Made to Move body. And yeah, this dress, I remember my friend buying it at a doll show. So yeah, and I think it looks very Sabrina-ish, so I'm very proud of this custom. And it marks off another like doll off my wish list. And yeah. I've also been checking my Kmart frantically, like, for the last almost every day, because they're the only local store near me now that still sells made-to-move bodies, and they're selling them for $13, which is half price, essentially. And even though the only dolls that I've been able to find were the pink shirt made-to-moves, a couple days ago, I found one of the purple top and one of the orange top dolls. So I finally was able to rebody, like, two dolls that I've been really wanting to get new bodies for. This is the Playline ballerina Leah doll, and I really prefer her face to the made-to-move Leah sculpt, just because, like, there's a lot more detail in it. And yeah, I think it suits the body a lot more, having like her head on this. And this is the doll that I got from last year's Barbie Fashionista special event, where you could create your own look doll, essentially. I got like the one with the cat shirt dress and this one. I do kind of regret not getting two of this one, just because I do like her face a lot more, and that the made-to-move Leah did kind of ruin the Asian screening for me. So, yeah. But I've been really wanting to get her a more posable body because, like, even though I do have Fashionista Nikki bodies, they're a little more orange than the more recent, articulated dolls, such as the Made-to-Move orange top, which is slightly more grey, and it suits her head way better than the Fashionista Nikki body did. So yeah. For my final kind of eBay purchase, I found this vintage Alan being put onto auction. And even though I really didn't intend to buy him, on the last day I saw that no one still put bids on him. So I put in like the minimum bid for like with 6 hours to go. And I fully expected him to, and I fully expected the doll to be sniped out of me, like, at the very last minute. Like even for like 1 cent or something. But turns out I did win it for like $20 plus shipping, and he got here a couple days ago. And the person who was selling him said that he was heavily flawed and stuff. But the one thing they didn't mention about this Alan is that his legs are the bend leg version. So I'm very surprised at how well in good condition the knees are, actually, because usually the internal skeleton would be snapped around above the knee or something, but they still hold clicks. One leg can hold 2 clicks like that, but this leg can only hold 1 click. Otherwise, this is one of the cheapest Allens I was able to get my hands on ever. And I was very surprised because the bend leg variant of Allen is really, really sought after, or at least expensive online. So being able to find one that's in slightly good condition made me very happy. And I got him for such a good price. The only issue he had with his head was that he had a couple rubs on it, but I'm very surprised at how unfaded his lips are, how, like, vibrant his makeup is. And even though I intended to buy him with the thoughts of customizing him, I'm really surprised that for such a good price I got him, like, in almost really good condition. Like, yeah. I eventually want to either buy him an outfit that shows off his legs, or make him an outfit that shows off his legs. Because, like, I do think that, even though I'm not a huge fan of the rubber legs on Barbies in general, I do think it's something special to have it on a vintage doll. Because usually most of my dolls either have snapped knees, or they're on straight leg bodies. And yeah. So that basically sums up my last couple weeks of dolls. And hopefully now that I've finished my hospitality course, and that I have a bit more time to prioritize things, hopefully I can start getting back to a more regular schedule now with filming everything and being able to discuss different things. But otherwise, yes, thank you so much for watching this video and seeing what I've gotten through for the last couple of weeks.